are you guys? Hello learner. My name is Mr. Exact, the unemployed expert. Some call me Mr. Actually because I always say actually. Right, this is tutorial number 1. I'm going to take you through the basics. When I say basics, I mean the most important skills that will introduce you to secondary education mathematics. And I'd like to name this topic directed numbers. So in this tutorial, I'm going to address issues that are pertaining to directed numbers. Welcome to secondary education, where we talk about negative numbers and positive numbers. It's no longer that primary education where you talk about 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in secondary education, you come across positive numbers and negative numbers. So we call these numbers directed numbers. All right, to start with, let's go through a number line. So the number line can be simply defined as the arrangement of numbers in their ascending order. By ascending order, we mean starting from the smallest number to the largest. So by the way, is there the smallest number? How about the largest number? The smallest number do not exist. Same applies, the largest number do not exist. Numbers, they count up to no limit. Many people, they think that 0 is the smallest number, which is not correct. As I'm illustrating it here on the number line, 0 to my right, I've got positive numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, counting to no limit. Then to the left, we have negative numbers 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. The first thing that must be clear in your mind is that numbers are progressing in this direction. All negative numbers are less than 0. Meaning to say minus 4 is smaller than minus 3. Minus 3 is smaller than minus 2. And minus 2 is smaller than minus 1. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the ascending order. The arrow is showing the ascending order. Numbers are increasing in value in this direction. Then they are decreasing in value going to the left one. Minus 4, minus 3, minus 1. So as long as there's a positive number, maybe 1 million, it means there's also the negative 1 million. All right. So you get me right when I was saying there's no largest number, there's no smallest number. Addition and subtraction of directed numbers. I'm going to take you through some of the skills that we can use when solving problems involving directed numbers. How to add and subtract numbers that involve positive and negatives, like this. Look at these two examples. In example number A, we have minus 3 plus 6. In example number B, we have minus 3 minus 6. Whenever numbers are listed down, the sign of a number is that which is before the number. For instance, if I write down minus 11, this sign is for 11. If I present a group of numbers like 4x minus 3y plus 2m minus 7, the sign of a number is the one which is behind the number. That is, this 4 is a positive 4, a plus 4. And this minus is for 3y. This plus is for 2m. This minus is for 7. It is very important to understand that concept before we get into mathematics. Right. So which means this negative sign is for 3 and this positive sign is for 6, minus 3, minus 6. How do you solve such problems? I would like to call it opposing method. The first two examples I presented here, we want to call them opposing method. Throughout the syllabus, we'll be reminding one another about the opposing method. What's opposing method? These two numbers, if you closely look at, they both start with a minus. Minus 3, minus 3. But the difference is, in example A, we have an addition symbol. In example number B, we are having a negative or a subtraction symbol. So it's simple. As long as we are solving directed numbers that start with a negative symbol here, in addition and subtraction, you do the opposite if they start with a minus. As long as they start with a negative, you do the opposite of the symbol which is at the middle. I mean, minus 3 plus 6. Instead of adding as per the suggestion, minus 3 plus 6, instead of adding, when they say add, you subtract. After subtracting, the answer will take sign of the bigger value. So it's minus 3 plus 6. It means 6 minus 3. We get 3. Then the bigger value 6 is a positive. So the answer will also become positive 3. So positive, there's no need to specify a positive symbol here. This is positive 3. Let me repeat. Suppose if minus 4 plus 8. As long as it starts with a minus followed by a plus, do the opposite. Do not add here. Instead, you subtract 8 minus 4. Then you get 4. Then finally, the final answer will take sign of a simple number, of a bigger number. And the bigger number is 8. 8 is a positive, so the answer is positive 4. Like this, minus 2 plus 10. Instead of adding 2 plus 10, we are going to subtract 10 minus 2. 10 minus 2, we get 8. Then the sign of a bigger number is 10, so it will be a positive 8. Example number D, suppose if minus 5 plus 1. Instead of adding, we are doing the opposite. That is 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1, you get 4. Then this 4 will take sign of the bigger value. 5 is a bigger value here, and 5 is carrying a negative symbol, so the answer is negative 4. Number E, minus 7 plus 2. Instead of adding, subtract. As long as it starts with a negative symbol, do the opposite. Minus 7 plus 2, so we're no longer adding. Instead, you are subtracting. You subtract, that is 7 minus 2, you get 5. Then 5 must take sign of the bigger value. 7 is a bigger value here, and it is carrying a negative symbol, so the final answer must be negative. Last illustration, minus 3 plus 3. We are not going to add, we are going to subtract. 3 minus 3, we get 0. Now take note, there is no a negative 0. If the answer is 0, it's always a positive 0. So what I mean is, as long as directed numbers start with a negative sign, do the opposite. If it's addition, you subtract. Then if it's subtraction, you add. For instance, look at this example number B, minus 3 minus 6. Minus 3 minus 6. Instead of subtracting here, we are going to add the numbers. That is 6 plus 3, we get 9. But then that 9 must take the sign of a bigger value. Bigger value is 6, which is negative, so it becomes negative. Number C, minus 8 minus 2. We are going to add 8 plus 2, 10. And it will take value sign of the bigger value minus 8, so it becomes 8. Then number D, minus 3 minus 3. This is not 0. Minus 3 minus 3, we are going to add 3 plus 3. Then we get positive, we get 6. Then this 6 will take sign of a bigger value, that is minus. So in short, what I mean is, when you are approaching directed numbers, the most common is the opposing method. The opposing method is minus a number plus another number. Then minus a number minus another number, like this. Whenever you face such a situation whereby directed numbers are adding and subtracting, but they start with a negative symbol. When they start with a negative sign, always do the opposite here. If it's an addition sign, subtract. If it's a subtraction sign, then you add. How simple is that? Always do the opposite. Addition, you subtract. Subtraction, you add. Then the final answer will take sign of a bigger value. So which means in your notebook, you can take this statement, addition and subtraction of directed numbers. Then number one, we call it opposing method. Addition, so you actually pausing your video so that you can capture the notes, or you can even screenshot the notes. So we go addition and subtraction of directed numbers. Number one, opposing method. Opposing method. All right. Then you present this minus 3 plus 6 minus 3 minus 6. So whenever you face such a situation whereby we start with a negative symbol, you do the opposite. So we then label it opposing method. Opposing method. So by opposing method, we mean do the opposite of the sign presented at the middle. Right. Final answer. We will take the sign of a bigger value. This is a tutorial number 1, directed numbers addition and subtraction, and we would like to call it opposing method. Whenever you face a situation whereby numbers are starting with a negative, you do the opposite of the sign presented at the middle. If it's addition, you subtract. If it's subtraction, you add. Then after that, the final answer will take sign of a bigger number. So usually in this example number A, that's where it is necessary to decide which sign will be given to the final answer. But situation number B, the answer is always a negative. Right. After the opposing method, we have this other scenario where that will come across in addition and subtraction of directed numbers. I would like to call this one it can't. How crazy is that? It can't. We used to do this in primary education, whereby you face a smaller number subtracting a bigger number. The answer was a symbol is it can't. For instance, they say simplify 2 minus 6. In primary education, we used to say it can't, but now it can in secondary education. Now, look at this. This is no longer opposing method. Opposing method applies when the number starts with a negative sign here. So this is different. It's 2 positive 2 subtracting 6. It's impossible to subtract 6 from 2. So always when you face impossible subtraction, the bigger value will subtract the smaller value. But the answer is always a negative to show that it was impossible. That is 2 minus 6. You say 6 minus 2, then you get negative 4. Example number B, 1 minus 10. It's impossible to subtract 10 units from 1. So the way forward is 10 will be subtracting 1. 10 minus 1, we get 9. But this 9 must be negative to show that it was impossible. Number C, 3 minus 7. It's impossible again to take 7 from 3. So the shorter way is 7 minus 3, you get 4. But that 4 must be a negative to show that it was impossible. Even if it is 0 minus 5. It's impossible to take 5 from nothing. So you say 5 minus 0, it will remain 5, but that 5 must be negative. So the difference is this one is not opposing method because the problem is not starting with a negative symbol here. But if there was a negative sign, then we would do the opposite. So that's opposing method. Then number 3, 2 signs at the middle. This one. 2 signs. Sometimes we come across 2 signs, either a negative or a positive, consecutive at the middle of numbers. For instance, this way, number A, 4 minus 3. 4 plus minus 3. When you come across such a situation, it's very simple. When you have 2 consecutive signs between numbers, ignore the 2 signs and get 1 sign. If there are negatives, they are representing a positive sign. If it's a negative and a positive, they are representing a minus. So we can easily represent this in this way. The hashtag minus and minus, you clear them and get a positive. Not necessarily addition, but a positive. Then hashtag number 2, if it is a positive and a negative, you get a negative. For instance, number 1, 5 plus minus 2. You clear these two sides. They are representing 5 minus 2. Then 5 minus 2, you get 3. If it is, suppose 5 minus 2, forget about these two. They are representing a positive sign, that is 5 plus 2. Then you get 5 plus 2, you get 7. So guys, mathematics is very simple, but what you need to do is always start from the starting point. Let's talk about multiplication and division of directed numbers. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about how to multiply, how to divide numbers involving negative and positive signs. There's something common between multiplication and division. That is, whenever you are multiplying numbers with different signs, you get a negative. Same applies when you are dividing numbers with different signs, you get a negative. For instance, suppose we have item 1 minus 2 times 3. You multiply 2 times 3, then you get 6. But just because they have different signs, you get a negative answer, that is minus 6. The same applies even if it is 2 times minus 3. As long as you are multiplying numbers with different signs, you get a negative product. 2 times minus 3, you get minus 6. But unless if it was minus 2 times minus 3, when you are multiplying numbers with the similar signs, you get a positive answer. It's like I will multiply 2 times 3, then you get 6, and in this case, it's going to be a positive 6. When multiplying numbers with the different signs, you get a negative product. When multiplying numbers with the similar signs, you get a positive answer. The same applies to division. Let me show this. Suppose number A, we have minus 4 divided by 2. We are dividing numbers with different signs. We continue dividing, that is minus 4 over 2. 2 into minus 4, we get negative 2. Even if it was 4 divided by minus 2, no matter the negative sign is on the numerator or the denominator, as long as they have different signs, you get a negative answer. So in this case, it's 4 divided by minus 2. You divide, you get minus 2. But when you are dividing numbers with the similar signs, minus 4 divided by minus 2, that's when you get a positive answer. That is minus 4 over minus 2. These negative signs will cancel, and you get a positive answer. So in short, this is directed numbers. After you go through to this tutorial about directed numbers, test yourself, check on yourself, go through this exercise. You can pause the video and or screenshot these few questions, then you attempt to answer these questions. Remember one thing, do not practice mathematics using a calculator. If you want to be good at mathematics, try to solve mathematical problems without using much of the calculator. So in these examples, I want you to attempt and try to answer them without using a calculator. So you can pause this video, you screenshot this exercise. I shall present the answers in the next slide or in the comment section. So this is the exercise. After understanding everything, don't forget, teach someone. See you in the next chapter.